Hello, this is James here, and today I'm going to go through Photon Bolt here. I've never used it before, so let's see. We're going to create a multiplayer game, simple scenes, perform basic tasks like spawning objects and replicating transforms. Code is favored. Okay, that's good because I'm a coder. Tutorial is intended using the debug build of Bolt. Alright, so we install it. And now we have a folder structure, so we have a couple of Bolt folders in here. You can see I already have kind of like a basic kind of game setup thing here with just a big open arena that's surrounded by mountains, and we've got some water over there, and I've got a little character here that isn't even really rigged or anything. It's just a very basic character I made in Blender. So we've got a little bit of something to start with here. So I'm hoping I can just pick up Bolt and just start using it. Package folder, there are add-ons, or you can import samples, cloud integration, Steam integration. If you import those, be aware that you'll be asked at getting started tutorials. Create a Bolt asset that already exists. You can either hold off on importing them. Okay, I'm not sure why they have to be so verbose. So Bolt, apart from other networking solutions for Unity, is that there's very little actual networking code you need to write by hand. That's good. Serialization is automatically handled by Bolt. Good. The only thing you need to do is tell Bolt what you want to replicate over the network. Okay, so that seems to be a pretty important point there. I should think about getting like a browser plugin that lets you highlight things on web pages. That would be pretty cool. This is done through the Bolt Assets window, which is found under Window Bolt Engine Assets. Okay, so I need to do Window Bolt Assets. So I'm going to go over here, Window, Bolt, Assets, and yeah, okay, here we go. So now I've got this window thingy. Let's see, what should I do with this? I should probably dock it somewhere. I'm going to dock it right here for now. Might come up with a better place for that. Okay, assets are broken down into 4 categories. States, these are the meat of most games built with Bolt. They allow you to define things like name, health, transform, animation parameters, etc. Okay, so this states are like things like variables basically. Okay, objects are a way of logically grouping several properties in the same way you would with a C# class. As an example, say you want to create an inventory for a player in an RPG game, you would create an object called item. This gives you different things like properties on that item. And then on the state, you would create an array of item objects. Okay, interesting. Shut up, Creative Cloud, my god. Commands. These are used exclusively for the authoritative features of Bolt and are used to encapsulate user input and the result of applying the input to a character in the world. Okay, so a command is like a function, kind of? Okay, commands let you implement advanced client-side prediction. Interesting. And automatic correction of predicted state. We made the decision of going with, that's a very interesting way of beginning the sentence. We made the decision of going with events instead of RPCs in Bolt, whatever that means. Events allow you to much easier decouple, oh god, decouple the different parts of your game from each other, as you can have several listeners to a single event active at the same time. At the bottom of the Bolt Assets window, you'll also see the version number of Bolt, whether it's in debug release. Right-click anywhere in the empty space of the Bolt's Assets window and select New State. Okay, I can do that. So Bolt Assets window and do New State. Okay, and now this thing pops up. I feel like I should put it here again, maybe? I'm not really sure. There's a lot of windows already. Okay, Bolt will create a new state called New State. Good one. And pop up the Bolt editor window for you with that active state. Okay, that's kind of what I see here, except mine's a little smaller and they have a dark theme. Change the name of the state to cube state. What if I don't want it to be cube state? What if I want it to be something else? You know what? I like being different. So I'm not going to call it cube state. I am going to call this player state. I'm probably going to end up regretting that, but that's fine. In the text field at the top, and then click new property. Okay. New property. Oh, I see. I see. Okay. Name the new property cube transform. Again, I'm going to be different. So I'm going to call it player transform. Yeah, how do you like that? And let's type it to transform. And set as type to transform. Oh, right. Type is transform. Okay. Neat. All right. I like what I'm seeing so far. I think I'm starting to understand this. Leave the rest of the settings as is. Okay. If you accidentally added more than one property and you don't want it, hold down the control key on your keyboard and a little red X will pop up. You know what? I'm going to try it out just so I get the hang of it. You hold X. Oh. You hold control and the little red X pops up. Huh. Well, it's a very arbitrary control, so I'm glad I read the instructions. Okay. To make Bolt aware of our state and property, we need to compile it. This can be done either through the asset's Bolt engine compile assembly menu option or with the little green arrow icon on the Bolt's assets window. Oh gosh, so much reading. They both do the exact same thing. Okay. To make Bolt aware of our state and property, we need to compile it. So Bolt compile assembly. Okay. Assets Bolt compile assembly. Okay. Nothing happened. I don't know. When compiling Bolt, we'll output a couple of messages in the Unity editor console. Okay, let's look at the console. That doesn't look good. Well, that one says success, and this one says, huh, okay. Off to a bad start, I think. What was it, Control-Shift-F? Yes. Look at entire solution. Okay. Player state. It's because it's being declared twice in the same file. It's not even in different files. It's in the same file. But what to do now? Okay. So, as much as I hate to do this, it did say something about getting the debug build of Bolt. So, let's do that then. Upgrading Bolt. Okay, import the new package into your project. But where's the download? Import new package, but there's no download. This should be used when developing your game. It is a lot slower than the release build because it has checks and asserts for almost every piece of code in Bolt, which gives you errors and warnings when something is done incorrectly. Doing final testing of your game before release, and to make sure performance is good enough. Also, almost all errors and warnings are disabled except for critical ones that causes Bolt to shut down. It really doesn't matter if I use debugger release. I mean, in terms of this issue that I'm getting here, it really shouldn't matter. Maybe I'll open a bug report? We shall see. Issues. Maybe someone here. Just do new issue. Oh man, now I'm submitting a bug report. Oh boy. How to reproduce the issue. Easy. Follow instructions on here. What step is it? Well, when you get to the compile assembly step, when you get to the compile assembly step, you get the following error. Oh my god, I just realized something. I know exactly why this bug is happening. It's happening because I decided to do something different from what the tutorial said. I actually didn't follow the tutorial. I actually did something a little bit differently. because I called it player state. Oh man, I called it player state, but there's already a player state on here. It's generating code. Expected behavior. You should get a validation error when trying to create a state with a conflicting name, conflicting or pre-existing name. Actual behavior. The UI allows creation of conflicting names for state things, for states. There we go. Cool. I think that's a reasonable bug report. Okay. So now that I think I understand what this is, instead of calling this player state, let's call it character state. How about that? And now, when we do the compile assembly, now, success. Okay, awesome. So we can clear out all the errors then. Let's run it one more time just to make sure. Compile assembly. Yes, there we go. Okay. So far, so good. And I made a bug report in the process. Okay. Yes. Oh, that's very strange. I wonder what that is. Okay, whatever. When compiling, Bolt will produce messages. Yes. Go to the project tab in Unity and create a folder called tutorial with 2 subfolders, scripts and prefabs. Interesting. Okay. I already have a place for scripts. And prefabs, I'm already kind of categorizing my prefabs kind of. I'm just going to leave it as is. I like being different. The first thing we're going to do is create our prefab for Bolt. It's just going to be a standard Unity cube. Create a new cube from the menu, then drag it in from the hierarchy into tutorial prefabs. Oh, right, to make a prefab out of it, right? So basically have a prefab, delete the cube. Oh, I see. So they just want you to make a prefab out of it. Okay, so basically, since I'm doing it for the character, then instead of doing it for a cube, I am basically just going to have a prefab for my human character, which I already do have a prefab for it. So I believe I can just use the same one. To make Bolt aware of our cube prefab, add a Bolt entity component to it. Okay, let's do that. Actually, what I should do is, here's what I should do. I should make an empty game object and call it character, and then take human figure and put it right here. Okay, and now I have my prefab character. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to add a component to my character, which is called Bolt entity. Okay, so I will do Bolt entity, and then click add component. Yes, we looked it up by name. This thing is happening again, which is just very bizarre. Since this is the first time Bolt sees our cube prefab, it will give you a couple of errors in the Bolt entity editor. Really? Couple errors. Yes, okay, yes, I see those errors now. Yes, I see the errors. Okay. The 2 errors below the prefab ID field are resolved by running the compiler for Bolt under compile assembly. Okay, so you practically have to run compile assembly like all the time. It does get rid of a couple errors. That's good. Or the green arrow. The Bolt S. Okay, so there's another button for that. The error under the serializer field is resolved by selecting the iCube state serializer from the drop-down that says not assigned currently. Yeah. So I'm going to call it iCharacter state because I don't have a cube, I have a character. Okay. There are a bunch of settings on the Bolt entity component we can change, but we really don't need to, as the defaults are what you want on almost all prefabs and types of games. The setting mostly deals with special cases that we have descriptions for in the more advanced sections of the documentation. Before we continue, with some actual C# code. Let's just set up a simple scene in Unity to spawn our cubes into, create a new Unity scene, and save it to tutorial/tutorial1. Alright, I have a scene already, so I'm going to use my scene. In our scene, create a new plane from GameObject, create other plane, and a new directional light. This is a lot of very specific instructions. I also create a new material for the plane and saved that to the plane so that we can give it a different color than the cubes. Okay, fine. I highlighted the setting. So he's basically just setting up like a ground and like an object. Basically the same thing as what I already have. So just got a light source and stuff, a main camera, sure, that's fine. Directional light stuff. For some reason, we're very specific about the actual parameters that are used in the directional light, which is really funny. Now it's time to write some code. Create a new script called network callbacks. Ooh, okay. In the tutorial script folder, and open it up in your text editor of choice, and then yes to all, I guess. Close. I'm just going to close out of everything for right now, just to kind of clean this up so that we're not looking at a hodgepodge of mess anymore. And it says create a script called network callbacks. Okay, so we will go to our scripts folder, and I'm going to make a folder called networking, and I'm going to create a script here. I believe it was supposed to be called networking callbacks. Just network callbacks. Okay, I named it wrong. Oh well, I like being different. We are going to change the base class from monoBehavior to bolt.globalEventListener. Okay. Does not inherit from monoBehavior. So, oh, it does inherit from monoBehavior. Oh, that's good. There we go. Okay. Bolt event listener thingy. We can still have our start and update, but it adds several Bolt specific methods on top. Okay, that's good. What we want to do is receive a callback when a scene is loading. In this case, our tutorial 1 scene, so that we know when we can instantiate our cube prefab. Bolt supports automatically networked loading of Unity scenes. The callback we want to hook into for this is called scene load local done. Scene load local done. Okay? It's important to note here also that Bolt uses the public override standard C# way of implementing methods. So instead of the Unity way, where you don't designate a method as an override. Okay, so we're doing things differently, but it's standard, so we're on a moral high ground for it. Okay, fair enough, can't argue with that. To instantiate a prefab in Bolt, you use the bolt network.instantiate method. In general, it works exactly the same as the built-in GameObject.instantiate in Unity. Okay, there are several different overloads for this method with various parameters, but we are going to use one of the simpler ones. It takes a Bolt prefab reference, position, and rotation. Okay. And I like copy-pasting things, so I am going to copy-paste this. Bam. Not sure where they got this from. Let's see what we have on here. Character, yes. Okay. We randomize a position on the XY plane so that everyone doesn't spawn in the same position. We then call bolt network.instantiate with a reference to our character, the random position and default rotation. The usage of cube or character might look a bit weird if you're brand new to Bolt. Bolt prefabs is a static class which is compiled and updated by Bolt, called that one, when you run compile assembly. Makes sense. It contains a unique reference to each prefab with a Bolt entity on it. So this is something I already kind of like about about Bolt, and I've never used it before, but the fact that it actually generates C# code, I do that kind of stuff a lot with Java, so it's nice to see that in C# too. You could also pass in a normal game object reference to the prefab instead if you wanted to. There's one last thing we are going to do before we are done with the network callback script. We are going to add an attribute to it called Bolt global behavior on the line above. Okay, so basically I need this guy to go here, sort of like an annotation type of thing. What this attribute does is that it allows Bolt to automatically detect this script and create an instance of it which lives together with Bolt and destroyed when Bolt is shut down. You should not manually attach an instance of this script to any game object in Unity. It will be handled by Bolt automatically. If you want to manually attach a global event listener somewhere, then you should not add the Bolt global behavior attribute. So by adding this annotation to it, that's it. That's all we have to do. We literally just do that, but we're not going to add this as a script on any actual game object. This is not going to be a component that we add to a game object somewhere. This, because it has this annotation on it, we are alleviated of that necessity. That is actually kind of an interesting concept. Last thing we need to perform before we can test our cube spawning is just set up a main menu script that starts Bolt. Create a new scene and save it. Before we go any further and write some code for our menu, make sure that both the tutorial 1 and tutorial 1 menu scenes are added in the build settings. Okay. After adding both the scenes, make sure to run compile assembly again to make Bolt aware of your scenes. Also make sure that the tutorial 1 menu scene is the first one when it loads your game. We're going to create a super simple menu script. Create a script. Yes, they do all this. Clear out the default Unity methods and add an onGUI method. We're going to simply create 2 buttons, so I'm going to call it networking menu. Okay, and I'm basically just going to copy everything and rename it networking menu. Okay, so we have our networking menu now. All the GUI layout calls are standard Unity stuff, so we'll skip that. The important pieces are in the 2 if blocks, which he's referring to the start server and start client. It looks like we'll be starting the server and the client in the same instance, which is very interesting, but it actually makes sense because if you were hosting locally, then you'd need both the server and the client. You wouldn't want to have to start 2 different programs. Server started by calling start server, which it's running on basically localhost. The 127.0.0.1 is localhost, and then the 27,000 is the port number, and then I'm assuming that we just connect to it from here, start client, and then this one we do that and then connect to our server. Okay, so this connects the client to the server, this starts the server, this starts the client. Got it. Attach our menu script to the main camera game object. Oh, so a menu script just goes on a camera. I've actually never used the menu system before. So main camera, and then we attach our networking menu to it. Oh, that is a thing. Okay. I guess that works. Important, make sure it's the correct scene you attach the menu script to. Before we start our game, make sure you go into the Unity player settings and enable run in background. Interesting. So you actually have to go into build settings, player settings, run in background. Build a standalone desktop version of the game and start 2 instances of it. I think that's a cool idea. So how did we do that again? Build, well, hold on. Let's do, yes, we need to add our scene. And then run build, and then I usually build it to a target folder. Okay, it appears to be building. It appears to be done building. We got some errors, it looks like. It's saying Unity editor could not be found. It's a bad sign. What am I going to do now? Namespace not found. Hello, have you tried using platform-dependent compilation? So now I'm going to have to go through. Apparently this was my own fault because I have scripts and I've never actually tried doing a build before. Okay, we're getting further. No more compile errors. Nice. We can actually run it now. Oh boy. Okay. Oops. I meant to keep it unwindowed. Okay, so we're opening up 2 instances of it. Make sure we're running in windowed mode. When the game starts, click Start Server on the first one and Start Client on the second one. Start Server. Start Client. Ooh, we are connected. Two cubes spawning, one for each instance of the game. I got an error. Key not found exception. In Bolt, get scene index, load scene. But I know I got an error, and they did not get any error. First of all, can I reproduce the error in Unity directly? So if I just hit Start Server, yes, I get the same exact error. Aha! Aha! Right. That was code that we copy-pasted, and we don't have a scene called tutorial 1. So what that means is we need to go to our build settings, testing/test scene. That was the name of mine anyway. I believe that's what it was. Nope, that was not. There we go. And now let's try running it. Start server. Maybe we need to understand what this does. Whatever can we do now? Maybe I just call it test scene? I mean, it's worth a try. Oh my god, that is what it was. Okay. Start client. We are connected. Okay. That is super cool. That is super, super duper cool. You should now see 2 instances of the game running. It says 0 scene objects. Found 1 scene objects that time. Could not find scene object with unique ID. Interesting. So I can't have one out on the scene then, is what it sounds like. It sounds like I can only spawn them using a script. So if I delete this one, and I hit play again, start server here, okay, and it spawned my dude right here. There's the one guy it spawned. Okay. Even though it said found 0 game objects, that's kind of scene objects. That's kind of weird. It is there, I could see it. Keep this in windowed mode. Start client. Alright. And now we see 2. There's one here and one over here. Awesome. So it definitely seems to be working now. It's definitely working. Continue to 102. Okay. Alright, so I guess that's the end of Bolt 101.